Welcome to Scorched and a general mid-month reading for the sign of Sagittarius, the second, in fact, that I'm doing for you this month. And the reason for that is I did your reading yesterday and it seemed so incredibly specific. When I got up this morning, I kind of felt drawn to do another one for you. So at this point, I don't know whether it's going to essentially repeat the same message from the reading before, or whether it's going to attach itself to another group of Sagittarians. We'll just have to wait and see. I get these feelings periodically and I tend to just roll with it. So I've got the Lost Forest deck for you this morning rather than using the Llewellyn, which is what I think I used yesterday. So I'll give these a shuffle. And we'll pull 3 cards for your current energy. 3 cards for current energy for Sagittarius. The first is the Ace of Pentacles. Sagittarius. Got 2 that flipped out together there. Ooh, we've got the Page of Earth and Justice. That's the Page of Pentacles. Let's get one more for your current energy. There it goes. It's the Queen of Wands. This is interesting. So, at the bottom of the deck, we've got the Hierophant and the Ace of Cups. This looks like it might be roughly the same energy, but coming at it from a slightly different direction. Because already we've got repeating cards from what we had yesterday. So, at the bottom of the deck, we've got the Hierophant, followed by the Ace of Cups, the 2 of Cups, and the Moon. Right? This is talking about established structures of some sort. So, you know, we can see it as being society in general, or we can see it as business companies, schools, churches, that kind of thing, right? Somebody at the top, other people below. But we can also see it as the institution of marriage, right? Now, the reason that I bring this up is because the Hierophant and Justice came out yesterday. Now, when we see these 2 together, they can sometimes talk about divorce, right? But if we just ignore that for a second, we've got the Ace of Cups, which is new love, which in the reading yesterday seemed to be something that you'd manifested towards yourself. The 2 of Cups, a progression from the Ace, you know, so from taking the potential and then making it into something. Doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but it certainly seemed to be the way that it was going for you. And then the Moon, which is all about the hidden place, right? It's the non-conscious, the subconscious, you know, those things that underneath 5 of Swords, that came out for you yesterday as well. Entirely different deck, and the same cards are coming through. A coming to light of some sort of disagreement, some different way of thinking that you have as opposed to someone else, right? But in your current energy, you have another ace. You've got the Ace of Pentacles, you've got the Page of Pentacles and Justice, and you've got the Queen of Wands. And the Ace of Earth is all about that new start, right? It's new opportunities to improve your material circumstances in some way, right? So sometimes you can see it's a new job, promotion, a house move, or something that kind of comes in and allows you to change your environment in a way that benefits you in some sort of fashion. It being an ace, just like I said here, you know, it's the full potential of that suit, right? So everything is contained within, just as an acorn essentially contains an oak tree. If it's nurtured under the right circumstances, it will turn from this into, you know, something 100 feet tall. That's what the ace is here for you, and this is your current energy. This is something that you are nurturing, and I say that you're nurturing it because you've got the Page of Earth here. Right, this is a new start for me. It talks about knowing the value of something, and there's something about your new start that's extremely valuable to you. Right, we get, in fact, on this card here, this funny little creature down there. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. It's holding something that looks like an illuminated acorn close to its chest, right? It wants to plant this thing, it wants to grow this thing. This is the energy that you're in at the moment. The fact that the Justice card is here, if we ignore the, you know, thing with the Hierophant, it feels like you know you're on the right path, right? It talks about balance and all things coming, you know, into completion. It talks about the paying off of karmic debts in some ways, sometimes, you know, the wrapping up of karmic contracts. But it really is bound up with that notion of things that just feel, you know, universally right or universally wrong, right? To you, specifically to you, right here, right now. And it feels like you know, this avatar here has a sword in her hand, and it's a huge sword. She's wielding it. The truth, right? It's like you see the truth of all matters now. You see the truth of what you want from your life in a way that perhaps you shielded yourself from in the past. We've got big wings, you know, and she's not on the earth. She's kind of up in the sky. It feels like things feel bigger to you now. You feel connected to things more now, and you're kind of acting, I feel like you're kind of acting as a conduit in a way that you haven't before, with what your higher self wants. And if there was a depiction of your higher self, it feels like it would be that, and what you're actually bringing out into the 3D. Now, if you've ever watched any of my videos, I always said there's something innately angelic about Sagittarians, right? All the Sagittarians I've ever met, it's almost like the wings don't fit inside their meat suits terribly well, right? They're almost kind of like wriggling around in just because they're like incarnate angels. And this feels like your higher self depicted here, right? You know what you want, you know what is right, and you know what you're going after. And you've got two cards here that speak of a new start in the 3D that your higher self is actually very much engaged with trying to bring towards you at the moment. Now, we've got this Queen of Fire here, that's the Queen of Wands. So that could be, well, strictly it's Aries, but it could be Leo or Sagittarius. So it could absolutely speak to you, or it could speak of another fire sign coming in. There's a bit more, it's considered to be a bit more of a responsible depiction than the card that is associated strictly with you, Sagittarius, because that's the Knight of Wands, and we all know what that's. We all know what the shadow version of a Knight of Wands is. It's somebody who is not committed, it's somebody who's flighty, and all those kind of things. When you progress to the Queen, it's a lot less that kind of energy. There is an innate responsibility, there's a sense of duty here, but there is also that fire within, right? It's maintaining the living in the moment, active kind of sense that you get from the Wand suit and the fire signs in general, but it's with that added layer of something new on top, a new level of responsibility. I want to pull another card or two for that. I'm just looking at all this shit piled up here. Yeah, I thought it was you. Let's just give these a shuffle. It's very determined. Right? All of the cards that are out here speak of a great level of determination. Tell me that Queen of Wands, please. Knight of Swords and Queen of Wands. King of Swords. And the Knight of Cups. Yeah, I mean, this might well speak of a new relationship that you're having, because we've got the Six of Cups at the bottom of the deck, which talks about, you know, soul bonds. It's my soulmate card, absolutely. But what we've got here, look at the colours that run across these cards. They're very light, they're very airy, there's no weight to them anywhere, right? We've got the Knight of Swords, which talks about very active movement, kind of running into something, with this same sword that Justice is wielding here, right? So if this is your higher truth, if we can take it to be that, right? The sword of truth that your higher self is wielding and what it's trying to help you see. This is then the three-dimensional expression of that, because you've got that sword and you're kind of running with it, right? A lot of activity, a lot of motion. What are you running towards? Well, it's come out to clarify the Queen of Fire. So this is perhaps a new version of you that is more responsible, that is you know, capable of committing to things in a way that maybe you couldn't before, or maybe it's some other fire sign. You might take it as it resonates to you. Awful nice. But then we've got the King of Swords. Now this is Aquarian energy, but it talks of someone who really understands what it is now that he is wielding. If this is it kind of filtering through to your consciousness, right? The message being delivered to your consciousness. This is the point at which it is being understood, received and understood, and then perhaps acted upon, because the king is very active energy, right? Moving around. It's mental dexterity, it's logic, it's reason, it's intellectual thought. It's not cold. And sometimes the sword suit get accused of being a bit cold. It isn't that. Like you've never been missing your fire, Sagittarius, right? That's always there. It's always present. And in fact, actually, to be fair, at the arse end of last year, you were missing your fire a little bit because your inner and outer worlds were not aligned in any particular, way that was satisfactory to you, right? So most of this year has been about adjusting that, right? Changing your external circumstances so that they did, in fact, reflect what was going on inside you, right? But he tends to put emotion to one side when he is considering things. That's generally what is given that the King of Swords does. But here, it's like the sword's getting passed along for you, Saggy, right? Your higher self has passed it down to the knight. The knight has kind of galloped through your consciousness, and it arrives here. And here, you know what you want. You know very much what you think you want as well. But it's almost like you're trying to work out what is the best way to get it for you, right? It's very reasoned. It's not being flighty in the way that Sagittarius can sometimes be, right? It's a progression. You've moved beyond that kind of flighty energy. And what it is that you seem to be thinking about is the Knight of Cups, right? Is how you offer your cup to someone else, right? Rather than it being like a, deep kind of passionate kind of like, but not necessarily committed action that you were looking to take. This seems very much more like it's logical and it's reasoned. You've thought about it from all the different angles, and yes, this is what you want, right? You want to take this cup and you want to offer it to someone, right? Now, if that's another fire sign, then there we are, that's a logical thing. But if not, it could be the new way that you intend to live your life, right? Because we've got the fire energy there, albeit I don't want to say an improved version, but a more committed version of what was before, tempered with really logical thinking about things. You're not getting swept away by your own passions, and you still want to proceed with an open heart forwards, right? It actually looks a lot like it's a maturing of the Sagittarian energy, right? You've been through a lot this year, but none of these lessons have been wasted on you, and now you seem to be connected to your higher self and your intuition and all that kind of thing in a way that you have not been so much before, or at least in a way that you consciously acknowledged before, because I am really seeing that conscious acknowledgement of the fact that you do have a connection and you do know X, Y, and Z. You do feel things before they happen, and sometimes there's probably been a few times where you kind of wished, you are a Knight of Wands, the wrong way around in the deck, where you wished that you had acted on what you had felt deep down, and you didn't. For whatever reason, you talked yourself out of it because you didn't have faith in that level of your connection to something bigger than you. But now you're starting to see it. Now it's becoming a more fluid process, right? Where you take in this information, get it into your conscious brain, you process it, and you go, yes, this is, a highly reasonable course of action. I'm going to do this. This is not me sudging about. This is me making a real difference to the world, right? To my world in front of me. I just noticed that the King of Swords now is at the bottom of the deck here as well. So let's have a look and see what's coming towards you. We've got the Magician, also came up yesterday. It's coming towards Sagittarius. Got the the Three of Wands. Beautiful. It's going towards Sagittarius. If I can drop that down there, like. Now this is interesting because we do have a repetition of these cards, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just fucking loads of cards that came up yesterday. Now we have the Hierophant at the bottom of the deck again here, right? But this time it's followed by the Nine of Cups. This is about truly knowing what you want inside, right? And not being swayed from that. We've got the Hierophant card here, which talks about stability, but it also talks about commitment, right? What it is that you are involved with at the moment feels like it's something that you want to last for a long time. It's something that you want to have legs, you know. It's gonna stand the test of time, absolutely. Hierophant is a card of Taurus as well, so you might be dealing with a Taurus. But here we have this Magician that came out yesterday, the Three of Wands that also came out yesterday, and the Nine of Swords, which also came out yesterday with the Queen of Cups. Now, the Magician is the master manifester, right? This is the card of manifestation. It's taking, you know, your will, your intent, your determination, and adding it with the right combination of 3D things and creating something, right? Not 3D things, actually, with the elements to create something in the 3D, right? This is willing something into existence, actually, is what it is. And you've got this energy around you very strongly at the moment because of the work that you have done. And it's on this particular Magician card. We've got butterflies all over it. Those are symbols of transformation. Like, you are bursting out the other side of of everything that's kept you trapped and restricted last year. And at the beginning of this year, to be fair, you have transformed, right? What you were doesn't really exist anymore in the same way that it used to. And then we come to the Three of Wands, which is my card of expansion, right? It's bringing things into the 3D. I've actually said a number of times in the last few days that I view this as a manifestation card of sorts too, because the Two of Wands is about you really considering things. It's kind of hitting a crossroads, you know, and kind of following the logical consequence of taking, you know, route A or route B to a thing, and kind of working out whether that is somewhere that you want to end up. And the question, well, the answer for you is yes, right? That is something that you've done. So you are now actively bringing that into the 3D and making your life about it. When you see these two cards come up together, that's a really powerful indication. This is somebody who is in charge of their own destiny, really. I'm quite happy about it too. What about the Three of Wands? What do you need to know about the Three of Wands? Right, that's just madness. The card that's come out is the Ace of Cups here, which came out very close to the Magician yesterday as well. The Ace of Cups. With the High Priestess, which also came out for you yesterday, right? Just in case you were wondering, there's the Two of Wands as well, right? You have done all of your thinking. You have really played this out in your mind, and you have decided that you are quite happy with where you are going, with the decisions that you have made, right? The Ace of Cups, it seemed quite clear to me yesterday that you would... You weren't worrying about what you had manifested. You were worried about the consequences of what someone else would think about what you'd manifested, right? How you are actively living your life right now. There's something about it that seems like it will rub somebody up the wrong way, right? Now, I love the colours that carry across with this card as well. And I was seeing this a lot here in this reading. So we've got new love or renewal of love for someone, something, or yourself, right? That's a thing here. And that is quite possibly how you are now living your life, because we also have this card here, the High Priestess, which is a number 2. So very much about the internal space. And again, exactly what I was talking about this connection to your higher self, your intuition, your inner wisdom, right? You're really tapped into this now. And the way that I saw this going yesterday, which is... to be honest, still absolutely true today with this new reading, is that The first possibility is that you are now instituting boundaries to, you know, as a result of the wisdom that you've got, you kind of got a new love for yourself. You kind of see your own value and you're like, I put up with a lot of shit before, so I need to erect some boundaries that will keep me safe. It's a natural consequence of having an improved relationship with yourself, right? You see now that it's something that needs protecting. And I said yesterday, and I'll say it again today, just in case somebody didn't see that reading yesterday, the only people who will have an issue with you instituting boundaries for yourself are those who benefited from you having none in the first place. And that does seem to be relevant here, right? So that's the first interpretation. The second is that it may well be a relationship that you have manifested for yourself, that you are enjoying, absolutely enjoying, very happy with, you know, one that makes you feel a real close bond, right? There's somebody who just gets you, right? And there's no effort required on your part. You pulled it towards you, right? You raised your vibration and you matched with someone whose vibration was also at that point, and you've kind of come together and you are now looking at the future. You're now looking at something that you're building going forwards, right? But then we've got this here, this Nine of Swords and this Queen of Cups. Now the thing with the Nine of Swords is, like, I have this kind of arbitrary rule where swords up are good, swords down are bad. But the Nine of Swords is usually depicted as having them kind of stacked horizontally up the wall. And there's a person who looks, you know, quite distressed up in bed, you know, kind of clutching their head. And, you know, it talks about insomnia and worry, big worry, you know, concerning, all that sort of thing. But they are effectively neutral, these swords, right? So it's a message of perception being slightly off, right? You are worrying about something that has not happened yet, is generally what that card says to me, and may, in fact, not actually happen at all. Now, I read something the other day and it said fear and worry about something is essentially just praying for the thing you don't want to happen, and that's really valid and something that you ought to bear in mind. Kind of pulling situations over. There's the Nine of Swords in the reverse there. Pulling things over in your mind so that you can, you know, be prepared for them is one thing, but it feels like it's a step beyond now. This is kind of like a gnawing fear in the back of your head. What about the Nine of Swords, the Queen of Cups? Fuck. We've got the Nine of Pentacles, which came out for you yesterday. We've also got the Devil and the Five of Cups. Now, that's quite intriguing. We've got the Three of Cups and the Nine of Swords underneath it there. Like, this feels like you worrying about people around you, right? This is not people who are in the middle of what it is that you have got going on at the moment. This is people around you. This is other people's judgments. This is other people's opinions. Potentially other people's feelings about the matter. If at some point you were close and you are not anymore, right? So we're talking about exits and stuff like that, potentially, right? But what you are worrying about is the Queen of Cups. So we're talking about feelings, we're talking about emotions. This doesn't feel necessarily like the other person. It's not like you're worrying about the other person, the person that you're in a relationship with, to be clear. This feels more like you're worrying about the fact that you are feeling something much more strongly than you thought you would, but than maybe you did for the person before, right? And like, how do you explain that? How do you explain it in a way that is reasonable to someone else? Because you're running everything through logical filters at the moment, right? Your ability to express yourself is actually really high at the moment, Saggy, as well. That's something to bear in mind. But because the Queen is receptive energy and the Cups are receptive energy, and water is receptive, like, you've got a double dose of receptivity here. So this is like, you're worrying about how to deal with the emotions that are coming towards you, right? How you receive those. because we've got this Nine of Pentacles here, which is, you know, another 9. It's almost completion, just like with the Nine of Swords, right? But this is self-sufficiency and independence. The changes that you've made in your 3D environment in the last few months have actually served you really rather well. Like they're going well. You're taking good care of yourself in a way that perhaps you were told you weren't able to before. You've got everything running nicely, and that makes you feel good, and that's important. But then we've got these 2 cards here, right? And this is the root of what it is that you're worrying about. We've got a sense of you being chained to something, or being afraid of being chained to something. And it's this 5 of Cups energy, right? And I don't think this is yours as I'm speaking. There's 5 energies about things that shift, right? It's about emotions that have shifted and the grief and loss that is associated with when those things end, right? When the cups get kicked over and stuff. Now, this is an all-encompassing energy. When you are there, it does not occur to you to step back and notice that there are 2 cups remaining, because you're right in the thick of it here, right? And only time will allow you to sort of move out of that place. But Sagittarius, I don't feel like you've ever been in that place this year, right? I feel like the people that you were dissociating yourself from, though, however, have been in this place. And this feels like what it is that you're worried about being chained to, like somebody else's sense of grief, somebody else's sense of loss. It could well be that this Nine of Swords, rather than kind of worrying about some sort of interaction that you're having, is actually a bit of low-level guilt about it, right? Because on some level, you feel bad about how good things are now, right? And it doesn't have to be, you know, like keeping you up at night. It can just be kind of gnawing away at you at the back of your head, because you know at some point you're going to end up needing to address this, and the full force of whatever this is going to be revealed to you, and you're not comfortable with that, right? Whether you're worrying about it or feeling guilty about it or whatever, and that's the thing. But the fact remains is that things are actually really beautiful for you in all other respects. I want to just pull one more main card. There you go. I wanted 1, I got 2. You've got the Page of Wands and the Ace of Cups again. Yeah, like you're super enthusiastic about the new things that you've got going on for you, right? The new emotional feelings, all of those kind of things. You don't actually... It feels like there's this weird tension here, right? You don't want to be bothered by this. You don't want this tainting the cool thing that you've got going on here, the thing that you're really excited about, a new start, definitely, because we've got the Page here and the Ace here, both cards of new starts, right? You're really excited about this. You don't want to be bothered by this, but for some reason you are more attached to it than you really want to be, and that ends up then making you feel a little bit bad about it. It's kind of being stuck in a little bit of a cycle, right? Now the Nine of Swords, like I said, it's about perception. So rather than trying to flee from it, this is a good point to maybe engage with it. And what the reading yesterday was kind of pointing towards was that this was coming to a head in some way. This seems to be looking at it from a slightly different perspective, a more internal to you perspective than what we saw yesterday. But effectively, there's enough repeating cards here that the end result is broadly the same, right? And the thing is, you're different now. You're really different now. And where this would have caused you a lot of anguish, like this time last year, it would have been really difficult. It would have been something that you'd struggled with a lot. I think you're going to struggle with it a lot less than you think, right? Because you've changed, right? Whatever hold you perceive that this person may have over you, it's actually all up here. It's in your head. So you can let it go when you feel brave enough, and you've got enough good things going on around you that point should be soon, Saggy. So let's get you some cards of advice. Some cards of advice for Sagittarius, please. That's the first one. We've got the Ten of Pentacles. Cards of advice. Oh shit. The Chariot. I'm really pleased to see that there for you. and strength. There's that Leo card again. So this is fascinating, because at the bottom of the deck we've got this Four of Skies, which is the Four of Swords in a standard deck, and it talks about, it's my meditation card, but for me it talks about employing objectivity. It talks about that detachment from something. Like, just as in meditation you detach from your thoughts and you let your brain breathe a little bit, right, in a way that it might not have a space to do ordinarily. It's also about detaching from a situation and kind of just observing it, right? Not engaging with it in the fullest sense, in the fullest emotional sense, right? Keeping breathing, right? And then underneath that we've got the Four of Wands, which is, both of these are foundational energy, right? They're about creating something that feels like home to you. And I feel like this new person, if this is indeed a new person that you've got coming in, absolutely contributes to that for you. But if you don't have a new person that you are like kind of working with, like it's how you fit inside your skin, the new life that you are creating for yourself, the new foundations that you are creating for yourself, they're going to see you very well. We've got the Six of Pentacles underneath that as well, you know, that real sense of balance, which for Sagittarius is really, really important, actually. I always see it in the Temperance card, this notion of balancing everything out. We've got the Ten of Pentacles here. This is more commitment. This is more stability. Like, where you might have at some point in the past, as a Sagittarius, as a bit of a thrill seeker, kind of almost sought out instability to make you feel kind of alive. Like, you've realized now, you've got to a point now, an age now, where you can be more discerning about that, and you realize the importance of stability, of commitment, particularly when you found something worth committing to, I should add, right? I don't think that you should allow the worry to make you take your eye off what it is that you're building here, because what you're building here, like I said with the Hierophant, is actually really important. Now, bring you back to the Ace, and remember I said that the Ace contains the full potentiality of the Earth suit. Well, there's the culmination of all the work, right? Don't take your eye off the prize, because you've got it here now and it needs a bit of nurturing. Don't abandon it halfway through because you're getting trapped in your own head over here, right? Then we've got the Chariot, and I love this Chariot card, right? This is another card that talks about balance and duality and alignment and all of these things, right? But it's about you pulling everything straight, not allowing anything to veer off to the side, because you can't travel forwards if you've got a wheel that's crooked, right? So at this point in time, whether it's the guilt or, you know, low-level worry, that kind of thing, that's dragging your wheel off, right? It's stopping you from putting the full power of Sagittarius in one direction and moving, right? And you are moving, right? You're moving forwards at a pace, and you know, with victory in your sights, I feel, with this here. You know, we've got the Lion. The Lion's a really powerful motif for strength. Yeah, that's why it's on the fucking Strength card most of the time, right? But it's also the card of the self, right, Saggy? So for whatever you've been through this year, right, it's, for me, it's been about strengthening who you are as an individual, right? Where at points you would have walked away from an argument just to save the stress from the here and now, right? You just don't want it, not interested in it, you know? And then in some senses kind of almost capitulating to somebody else because they shouted louder than you did, right? You're moving away from any notion of capitulating to other people. It's all about you and your vision and your drive and you moving forwards, right? How you go forwards, not about kind of dealing with other people's shitty habits around the side and kind of carving out a little life for yourself in the middle of that, right? Or off in the corner or something. Like this is fully stepping in, taking ownership of who you are, of what you want your life to be, and not being distracted from that. Don't deviate from it, right? And then the final card that you've got is Strength. And I just fucking love this depiction of strength. It's incredible. It's a woman facing down the full cosmological forces that are swirling around in the sky there, right? And these two together, I mean, they literally follow on from each other, you know, 7, 8. It talks about growth. It talks about change. It talks about you maturing and being something more than you were before, like swelling out to fill your space more than you did before, right? You've grown so much, and those things that you fear were really only relevant to the old you, and the old you doesn't exist anymore. You're not who you were. You are something altogether more powerful. You are something that is capable of staring down these fucking swirling cosmological forces that would in some way threaten you, right? You've never been weak, Saggy, but you have occasionally ducked out, right? It's fine, you can run fast. You've got a good bobbing and weaving motion, right? It's how you keep yourself straight, but you don't actually need to do that anymore. So stop worrying about this. Stop feeling guilt-ridden about this, if that's what this is. Stop worrying about something that hasn't happened yet and may, in fact, not even happen at all, because it's distracting you. It's pulling you away from your purpose, right? And focus on the new version of you that we've got here. Very strong, very capable, very direct, and all under your control, more importantly, right? Sagittarius hates to feel trapped ever, but you were feeling trapped last year. Now you're free, you're liberated. Don't let your mind keep you trapped more, right? Because there's no stronger prison than that which we fashion for ourselves in our own mind, out of our own fucking thoughts, right? You've liberated yourself this year. Don't go backwards by forging yourself a prison in your own head, right? So I'm going to leave it there. I'll put the link to the first reading here. It should be there right now. So if you want to go and have a look at that, because it's essentially the same situation from a different angle, and I feel like that's quite a useful thing to be able to see both. Yeah, and I'll see you in like 2 weeks for the August monthlies. Right, take care.